Hello everyone, this is Holly Rice from the Modio marketing team. Thanks for joining us for our webinar about cleaning up those menacing duplicate Cognos reports. Drew Lachelle and Tony Fecto will be presenting ReportCard software today, which offers a quick and easy way to locate your duplicate Cognos reports. Before we dive in, I just want to point out a few things about the webinar platform. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit those at any time. Just click on the Q&A widget that's at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to those after the presentation during our brief Q&A session. We also have a short survey that we would appreciate you providing us with your feedback on this webinar. You can access that one by clicking on the paper pencil icon next to the Tech Help icon. So now let's hear from Drew.
Thank you, Holly. And again, my name is Drew Lachelle, and I am on the sales team here at Modio. And prior to us getting started with the demo portion of the webinar, there are a couple of slides and poll questions I wanted to run through very quickly to really help shed some light on this process of cleaning up your environments and removing those duplicate reports prior to a move to.
So that will lead us to our first poll question of the day, which is, do you know how many reports and objects are currently in your Cognos content store? We have three options there. First one is no clue and not sure how to find out. Second is we have a rough idea of how much is in there, but no hard data on this. And lastly, yes, we run a recurring audit of Cognos report and object counts. We'll give everyone a few more seconds to input their answer, and then we can take a look at the results. So in looking at the results, looks like the second and third option really leading the way. We have a rough idea of how much is in there, but no hard data on this. And then another group of folks saying, yes, we run a recurring audit of Cognos report and object counts. And that's pretty in line with what we've seen. I know we've typically asked customers in the past to give us an estimation of the number of reports in their content store. And then following that, we'll actually run a query object count. And for the most part, most people vastly underestimate the objects they have in their content store. But it looks like we have some folks here who are running a recurring audit, which is certainly good news.
So to tie this into a real-life example, I recently moved a few months ago, and with any move, you only want to bring with you stuff that you will need and use in your new home. So as I was packing up, I got around to my DVD collection that I had, acquired over many years. And as I was preparing to pack them up and get those all boxed up, I got to thinking that with all the streaming services available these days, with things like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and HBO Go, I essentially had multiple copies of every movie that I owned. I had the physical, DVD or Blu-ray copy, and I also had the digital copy that was available via those streaming services. And with everything you move, whether it be a move to a new house or a move to a new Cognos environment, there's a level of effort and cost that's associated with getting that old object to the new location. And I figured, in my case, I should just get rid of or donate all those duplicate hard copies of the movies that I had. And that leads us into our second poll question.
So our second poll question today is, do you have a practice of regularly auditing similar and or duplicate Cognos reports and removing what's unnecessary? And again, we give you three options, first of which we only do this when troubleshooting a problem, like reacting to a performance issue with Cognos. Second is yes, we periodically run an audit and cleanup. And third is no, we simply do not have the time or manpower to do this task. So give everyone a couple more seconds to input. And in looking at the results, looks like we have a clear leader. No, we simply do not have the time or manpower to do this task. And really, that's why we're doing this webinar today, is because so many BI teams are stretched far too thin to be able to manage, auditing and removing those similar and duplicate reports. So that's really the focus for today.
So really what you want to do is start fresh in Cognos 11. So by identifying and deleting those duplicate and unneeded reports, that will give you an immediate performance boost in C11. You're not bringing with you all that clutter, all those duplicates and unneeded reports that are putting strain on your content store. Also, the testing process will be made far easier as you have reduced the total number of objects that you will be testing. And for those objects that you will test, you already know that those will be used and needed in your new environment. And again, you'll always have Modio CI there to act as a safety net. And we like to say Modio CI gives you the freedom to delete because the content recovery process in CI is far easier than doing it natively in Cognos and having to do that full restore. So that kind of ties it into both the real-world example and really what you're trying to accomplish with getting rid of those duplicate reports. So with that, we can get started with the actual demo of ReportCard.
Thanks, Drew, and thanks everyone for joining us on the webinar today. Today I'm going to be showing a short demo for Modio ReportCard. ReportCard offers many features that can help improve performance and maintainability of your Cognos environment, as well as assisting in the process of Cognos upgrades. ReportCard can assess your reports in Cognos and recommend improvements in various areas to make reports faster and your content store easier to work with. A subcategory of assessments, which will allow you to identify duplicated or copied reports, is the Similarity Checking feature. Similarity checking is especially useful early on in the Cognos upgrade process, as it allows users to reduce the scope of the upgrade significantly by telling you which reports can be archived or deleted. The process of setting up similarity checking in ReportCard is quick and simple and can be done using the Create wizard on the Assessments tab. Click the Create button to initiate setup of the assessment. Since we are running a similarity check, I will name this assessment accordingly by entering Similarity Check in the name field. On the next screen, I will select the locations in which to look for similar reports. For smaller content stores, I can select the entire content store and the directory item for my folder's content. For much larger content stores, I will select reports by package to find similarities. The reason to select by package is that it is generally the case that reports that point to separate packages will not be similar. It is also helpful to reduce the scope of similarity checking in large environments because to find similarities, each report must be compared to each other report. The next screen allows us to select which improvements to look for on the selected reports. In this case, I only want to find reports that are similar to each other, so I will select Identify Similar Specifications. Normally, during assessment, ReportCard will execute each report to gather metrics on how each improvement affected performance. However, this step is skipped for similarity checking since no reports will actually be modified. Since no reports will be executed, I can skip adding parameters for each report and go straight to running the similarity check. During the similarity checking process, ReportCard will open each report from Cognos, break it up into its working parts, and compare to each other report to determine if they are reporting on the same data. In this way, ReportCard can identify which reports are functionally similar to each other, not just which reports are exactly the same. Upon completion, the Similarity Check results will be available on the Results tab. Viewing the results directly in ReportCard will give us a quick overview of how messy our environment really is. In this case, there are a significant number of duplicates found. In this view, I can also see which reports are being run the most often and which are having issues with failing to execute. Under each report on the left-hand side is a list of reports that were found to be similar, as well as their total executions, successful executions, and failed executions. For a more actionable report of the similarities, ReportCard also supplies a PDF and CSV export that can be shared with the team to assist in the cleanup efforts. Back on the Results tab, the Download button will produce a zip file containing the exports. Once the zip file is downloaded, I can view the PDF export using a PDF viewer. This document is formatted in such a way that it is easily consumed by the team. The title page gives information about what this document represents and when the similarity check was performed. The summary page provides quick links to each grouping of similar reports and a complete list of who owns the reports in this document and their contact info. This shows a quick list of people to email the PDF document to so they can determine which reports to keep and which to remove or archive. Each section in the rest of the document shows which reports were found for each similarity grouping, who owns each report, and which reports are being used the most often. You may notice that some similarity groupings have a significant number of similar reports, whereas others only have 2 or 3. This will vary by environment. The final option for viewing similarity results is to import the CSV into a spreadsheet utility for further processing. This can give some quick information about who the main offenders are, where most copies are being created, and other similar data. For example, sorting by owner will allow you to see who owns most of the reports, This also allows individual users to more easily find which reports they own and can help determine who the worst offenders are. Knowing who is creating most copies of reports is the first step to figuring out why they are being created and knowing how to avoid the situation in the future. Sorting by location can show if most reports are located in a single folder or subtree. Knowing where copies are being created can help determine if there is a better directory structure that can be used in arranging where reports should be located. Using the similarity checking feature gives Cognos users the information they need to clean up their content store prior to the Cognos upgrade, which can significantly reduce the upgrade efforts required. It is most often the case that if two reports are found to be similar or duplicates, both reports will have the same issues during upgrade, regression, or any other validation process. Knowing where your similar reports are is the first step to ensuring that your team doesn't have to fix the same report-related issues more than once for the same or similar reports.
Okay, thank you, Drew and Tony. Now we will get to questions from the audience. Okay. Our first question is about what ReportCard can check. Tony, which object types does similarity checking support in ReportCard?
So similarity checking will support Report Studio, PowerPlay Studio, and active reports. We get a question sometimes about whether we support Query Studio. Since Cognos deprecated that recently, we don't really have any plans to support Query Studio, which you might be wondering, well, how do I go from Cognos 10 to Cognos 11? We do have a workaround for that in Modio PI, which allows you to convert your reports from Query Studio to Report Studio, and in that case, you would run your similarity check on all of those.
Okay, great. And then we have a question on, and you may have answered this and I missed it, can this be used for Query Studio?
So not currently, and we don't have plans to support Query Studio again because Cognos has deprecated Query Studio and Analysis Studio reports.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next is what's your recommendation on using this feature before the upgrade and then using it after the upgrade?
So before the upgrade, you would want to run this really as one of the first steps of the upgrade process, just to be able to reduce the scope of other upgrade tasks. So if you wanted to do any sort of validation or regression testing or any of that stuff prior to doing the actual upgrade, you would really want to, reduce the scope of that beforehand. So really, this should be one of the first steps in, cleaning things up before you move forward with everything else. As far as after the upgrade process, really it's up to you guys. So you'd probably want to start off with just about every month just to ensure duplicates aren't creeping up again. That will give you a chance to discuss with your report authors to determine why duplicates are being created, how we can prevent that in the future. And then from there, you can start kind of backing up on how often you run it, but definitely run it every once in a while.
Okay, great. And then we've got some questions here, some similar questions. Let me get to this first one. What criteria does ReportCard evaluate under the covers to determine that reports are duplications?
So ReportCard will pull up the report spec and break it up into its individual queries, data items, filters, properties on the queries, all the different layout components, if you have lists, crosstabs, charts, all those different parts, really to be able to tell you if the reports are, functionally similar, are they reporting on the same data? We don't care if they have different styles or the title's different or, the date's in a different format. We really, want to find the reports that are, reporting on the same data so we can eliminate those, maybe combine them together to really reduce those.
And here's another question on where you can look for similarity check. Does the similarity check look at my folders as well?
Yeah. So if you have access to the directory structure in Cognos, so if you're like a Cognos admin or a directory admin, then you can select people's my folders. Just standard authors will be able to select items in their personal my folders. So if individual authors want to just run this to make sure they're not, causing trouble, they can do that as well.
Okay. Here's one about performance on the Cognos server. Will there be any performance, issue on the Cognos server running a similarity check?
So if this is asking about the, performance load that we're putting on Cognos, all that ReportCard is doing is going in and grabbing the report specs. After that, all the processing is done on the ReportCard side. So I guess the major load might be network I/O, but I couldn't see that being a whole lot.
And how long does a similarity check take?
In our testing across, we've tested with 1,000 reports of moderately large size. It'll take about 20 to 30 minutes on that large of a similarity check, so you could really run it over lunch. We've done content store analysis across over 100 of our customers, and what we've seen is most people have less than 100 reports per package. The max we've seen was about 750, so most of the time you're going to be less than 20 or 30 minutes. So pretty quick.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay, here's about some of the other features on ReportCard. It says this tool helps to use only before the migration. Is there any added features in the tool that helps after we do the migration?
So another big part of ReportCard is our load testing. So that's another part that's really helpful in the upgrade process because it helps ensure quality of service for your users. So you can run a load test before you do the Cognos upgrade and then run the same load test afterwards and make sure that reports are running just as quickly. It can handle the same user load. Your servers are, standing up to that amount of load the same or better. So load testing is a really big one. We have also the assessments, just looking at your reports for different levels of improvement. That's helpful outside of the upgrade process as well.
Okay, there's a couple of questions here asking if ReportCard is standalone. I'm going to go ahead and take this one as our last question and then wrap it up because we're getting low on time here. But yes, ReportCard is a separate product. It's not part of Modio CI or Modio Pi. So if you'd like to learn more about it, certainly reach out to us and you can submit a request to talk to someone about it further and see more of the features. If you'll just do that through the Q&A widget, and then we'll be sure and follow up with you on that. So with that, I'm going to close us out. We appreciate you coming today and learning about this really valuable feature in ReportCard. And this will be recorded, so you will get a copy of it once it's been processed, so you can go back and look at it. And again, if you'd like to talk to someone from our team about ReportCard and how it can help you, please reach out to us. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.